Hello, everyone. It's your friendly neighborhood pop culture princess coming at ya with the media I consumed in February 2026. The categories for this month are books, movies/series, and music. I read 30 books this month, all three physical copies, and all three were new to me, so no rereads. I watched three movies, consumed two seasons of a show, and I listened to a fantastic music album that released this month, and I fell in love with it, making it very meaningful and legible to be included in this video. I am a huge geek and I love yapping about the media I consume and love. So naturally, I love making these videos, and I wanted to give a huge shout out and the due credit to Christine Riccio at Poland Bananas Books on YouTube for inspiring the series by her Stories I Ate this month videos from back in the day. So let us begin with books. I read three books this month. These two I read physically. This one I ordered later after already reading it online in ebook form. These two are novels. This one is a graphic novel. I thoroughly enjoyed all three of them. All three of them are right up my alley because they're funny and silly and musical and magical. All my favorite elements in any piece of media, making all three 5-star reads for me. I picked up these two when I was at the mall on the 1st of February. I saw this one on the shelves and realized I had never read Greek Heroes, and I'd also never seen this particular new cover. I instantly wanted to get it and I did. Then, when I got around to reading it, I initially wanted to just read one chapter at a time right before sleeping or in between my study breaks. Percy is hilarious and I love his narration so much. No matter how bleak everything seems, reading anything with him in it, especially something narrated by him, instantly lifts my spirits. It's a collection of stories of some of the most popular Greek heroes, narrated by Percy in his uniquely extraordinary way, and it made me laugh out loud multiple times during the course of one chapter. Really, truly, so fantastic and funny. I was literally howling at times, and I dog eared all my favorite funny parts of the book. I don't know if it's visible on camera. I hope it is. But yeah, there's quite a lot of dog-eared pages. It was lovely and exactly what I needed to make me feel better when I was feeling so exhausted mentally and physically. Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes, I bestow upon thee a 5-star rating. The second book I read was Spy Family Family Portrait. This is the first novel accompanying the manga and has been written by Anya Yajima. It's not been written by Tatsuya Endo. Somebody else has written the stories in this novel. And apparently, she has been a long time fan of Tatsuya Endo and has been following his works for a very long time. So I was glad that this was done by a fan who really loved the story and not just some random person. Tatsuya Endo, the author of the manga, also made some really lovely art for it, which is interspersed across the chapters. He has kind of artistically represented, depicted any particular scene from all the different chapters. And I was surprised the book actually came with a poster as well. I love Tatsuya Endo's art so much. The book literally had me hooked, and I read the entire thing in one sitting. I mean, it's not that thick, it's not chunky, anyways, so it's not that big of a deal, but still, I was addicted to it. I was hooked, and I had to read it all in one sitting, even though I had thought that I would only go chapter by chapter, read one chapter at a time in between breaks or whenever, but I did not follow through on that. It has four chapters, all for centering different themes and different characters. We have Anya and Damien stranded in a cave after getting lost on a field trip, Yuri babysitting Anya on his day off, Frankie finding true love at the hospital one random day, and the Forgers on a family picnic, which ends up being very stressful for both Lloyd and Yor when they are asked by a dude who they assume is a destitute art student if he could paint them a family portrait, and they cannot refuse because they think that's going to be really bad refusing a destitute art student. All the stories were wonderful and funny in Spy Family's characteristic flavor that I love so much, but Frankie's story was my personal favorite. I was so surprised by the way it ended. And I just kept asking and thinking why he decided to break things off when this was literally the only woman who would have really truly loved him without caring about his looks. That story was really poignant, and the connection Frankie shared with that girl was so beautiful. It was genuinely so touching. I was shook by how it ended, but still hopeful for their future because the girl kind of recognized the smell of tobacco when she passed by Frankie, not recognizing his real face. It was also lovely to see Twilight helping Frankie and snooping and giving us a glimpse of the human in him who does care for people around him despite his cool guy spy facade. Tassugare is a big old softie and I love him. Spy Family Portrait, I bestow upon thee a 5-star rating. We Could Be Magic by Marissa Meyer is the third book I read this month. This caught my eye in the bookstore because I saw the name Marissa Meyer on the spine and I instantly went, oh my god, Marissa Meyer, I know her. Like, yes, that's my close personal friend, Marissa Meyer. I was on BookTube in 2016, 2017, so I came across Lunar Chronicles, a very, very popular YA dystopian fantasy fairy tale retelling book series that was written by Marissa Meyer a lot. So I was quite familiar with her name and knew how popular her books were back in the day. So I picked this book up. I really liked the art. It's very cutesy, very demure. I looked at the synopsis, the title, everything was right up my alley. So I bought it naturally. And I am very glad that I did. And I'm very glad that I did because this book is so wholesome and sweet and whimsical and magical. I love the characters. I love the plot. I love the setting. I love how colorful it is. I love how the main character is a fat black girl with big dreams and an even bigger determination, grit, and passion to achieve them. The theme park setting is so beautiful, and our female protagonist's love for the world is also so beautiful. I love how the story has been woven around her belief in true love and its magic, which is what leads her to cling on to Summerland, the theme park, and its magic. Summerland restores her faith in the existence of true love and magic when everything seems so bleak. And it is so incredibly lovely to see her achieve her dreams of being a character actor, find true love, and create magic for so many little kids just like her. I want to go to a theme park like this so bad. I'm not even joking. Like, please. I've never been to Disney or any theme park really for that matter, except for Adventure Island back in God knows how long ago. And that Adventure Island is very decrepit now. So I love looking at Disneyland videos and daydreaming about all the things I would do there and just visiting someday. And this was like those Disneyland videos, except 1,000 times more magical. Spectacular work. I love it. We Could Be Magic. I bestow thee with 5 magical stars. Moving on to the movies and series category, I will start with the 2 seasons of Spy Family that I binged this month. I literally went from not being able to finish watching season 1 in January in one entire month to binging 2 seasons 2 and 3 in literally 1 week in February, of course. This is just a guide of the first 12 episodes of the anime, so I'm now gonna be keeping that there. I had watched season 2 of the anime back when it came out, but I had not gotten around to watching season 3 as I wanted to rewatch seasons 1 and 2 before I watched the third one. I love this story so much. It's one of my all-time favorite pieces of media. I have read and love the manga as well, and I cannot wait for them to animate more of it. I think I love this as much as I do because it is a perfect combination of action and comedy. There's tension. The stakes are as high as ever. World peace is hanging in the balance. I am on the edge of my seat. And then someone says or does something silly and it makes me laugh. So there is tension and then there is comic relief. There are so many iconic scenes and dialogues, but some of my absolute favorites that really stand out from each season are the tennis scene from season 1, then Yor fighting the assassins on the ship in season 2, and finally the fight that ensues between Twilight and Yuri. Twilight dragging his feet and being unable to kill Yuri, and Yuri getting back up again and again and again, even after being severely, critically injured. Absolute cinema. Absolute elegance. Nightfall's fight with Wheeler, which wasn't much of a fight at all because she destroys him. Absolute elegance. That's another highlight from this season for me. There are genuinely so many things I want to talk about, but I will save that long rant for a full length video that I will hopefully make in the near future, completely dedicated to Spy Family. I basically reread the manga last year and I fell in love with Spy Family all over again, which is what motivated me to finally rewatch all of the anime as well. It is just so incredible and such a beautiful reflection of real life with its darkness and its light, the yin and the yang, the good and the bad. I love these idiots so much and they make me so incredibly happy. Thank you, Tatsuya Endo, for creating this beautiful world. You better not be killing any characters, or else. Spy Family seasons 2 and 3, I bestow thee with a 5-star rating. Next up in the movies category, we have Spy Family Code White. It is the Spy Family movie that I watched right after finishing season 2 and 3 because I needed more of the story and the world after binging seasons 2 and 3. I also read the novel for the same reason after I was done with the movie. I simply could not get enough of the drug that is Spy Family. It has become my own personal brand of heroin. Code White was, you guessed it, fantastic. I'd watched it a year ago on Netflix, but I'd forgotten a lot of what had happened in the movie. For instance, I did not remember that the movie starts with Lloyd being laid off of Operation Strix and he plans the trip in order to taste and learn how to make mere mere for a dessert making competition at Eden Academy, which would hopefully get Anya a Stella star and prove that Operation Strix is going well and he should not be fired from it. It also kind of implied that he is at least a little attached to this fake family of his, subconsciously motivating him to prove that Operation Strix under him is going well. Like I said, he's a big old softie. I love him. The movie is, as usual, really funny with Anya's poop dream, and the poop god, who I realized while watching it this time, really looks like Master Henderson. Like, Henderson Sensei, what are you doing here? The Forgers always managing to get themselves in the midst of all sorts of trouble is hilarious. I'm sorry. Absolute cinema. Twilight is so skilled at everything. He can fly a plane, he can steer a burning ship with failed engines away from the city with your and Anya's help, of course. I think Yor and Lloyd did all the hard work, but Anya's face when she was helping turn the wheel was so hilarious. I'm sorry. Lloyd dropped everything and ran to get Anya out of trouble. He's a fantastic father and he's much better than he gives himself credit for. Anya really loves her Chichi and Haha, and for good reason. I love them too, they're the best. I love Yor. She's such a beautiful person, and I love how, despite her silliness and jealousy at the beginning of the movie, she realizes the importance of family and gently nudges Lloyd to take her and Anya with him to go look for the cherry liquor. And he agrees too because despite what he might claim, he does love his quote unquote fake family. I have nothing but the highest of praise for all mediums of Spy Family, manga, anime, and movie. So once again, I bestow Code White with 5 stars. The second movie I watched this month is English Winglish, which is a Bollywood movie that came out back in 2012. And I do recall having watched it a couple times back in the day, but that was years ago, so I did not really remember much except for the very basic plot, being an Indian housewife who is not really fluent in English at all and really struggles because of it. Her family teases her to no extent and makes so much fun of her. She ends up having to travel to America for her sister's daughter's wedding and struggles there too because she has a hard time understanding people and cannot really communicate with them either. I did not recall much except for this, and I had to watch the movie for our cultural psychology practical, but I really ended up enjoying it. Like, it was really fun. Like any good Bollywood movie, it is entertaining and a perfect blend of humor, drama, comedy, song, and dance. Her daughter and husband are so fucking annoying. They got on every single last nerve of mine. She handled them so gracefully and really just like carries herself so gracefully throughout the movie. She's genuinely such a sweet and lovely person. And I really wanted her to get together with that amazing French dude, Laurent, who really loved her. But alas, she turns him down, thanks him for making her feel good about herself and helping her love herself, which helped her forgive her bitch ass family and reconcile with them. I was also pleasantly surprised by the gay inclusion in the movie and how she gently corrects and calls out the Pakistani dude in her English class when he makes fun of their English teacher and is just being homophobic towards their English teacher. So yeah, that was amazing. And that was unexpected and surprising. And I also did not recall that from the movie at all. I liked it quite a lot. Yet another 5-star watch. Now, the last movie for this month, the third movie that I watched, is As Good as It Gets, which is a 90s Hollywood movie. I watched this movie for my clinical psychology class and to understand the clinical picture of OCD, which I think is pretty accurate. So I would say it's a good movie to watch from a clinical perspective, but as a movie, I found it very boring. And that's just my personal opinion. I just found it very boring. I think you could already tell what sort of movies I enjoy watching. And this did not fall into that category whatsoever. My favorite types of movies are entertaining and fun and whimsical and magical and silly and goofy and exciting. This was none of those things. And I felt very bored watching this. For me to like a movie, I have to be entertained by it. And I was not entertained by this movie. So there's that. I watched this the day after having watched English English, and I was so hooked onto English English. Like I was watching it past my bedtime. I think by the time I finished it was 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was really tired from the day. And I still was watching it, and it was so entertaining that I was hooked onto it, even though I was really tired and sleepy. But I watched this during the day, not having done anything tiring prior to watching it, and I just felt so bored and so sleepy. And there were times where I would just randomly pause it to do something else, do other stuff, because that is how I feel like it was just not engaging enough. It was just not catching on to my attention. It was just not engaging enough. And I was just not wanting to watch it because of how boring it was. I did really love Simon, though, the gay artist who gets really injured and has to live with Melvin, our main character, for a while. I love Simon's friendship with Carol, the waitress, and how she helps him get out of his art slum. Their friendship and their scenes together were my favorite from the entire movie. And that was, I think, literally just maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of them being together and interacting, not more than 5 or 10 minutes throughout this movie, which was, I think, 2 hours and 18 minutes long. So that goes on to show how much I did not like the rest of it. But, anyways, yes, our main character Melvin grows and changes and does indeed become a better man as the movie progresses. But I still felt bored. The pacing is a tad bit too slow, according to me. And the movie on the whole was just okay. I gave it 3 stars. Now, for our last category, which is music. My close personal friend Nick Jonas has released yet another banger album. I think this one might just be my favorite Nick Jonas album because even though I really did love some songs from Last Year Was Complicated, his first solo album, I have issues with a lot of the lyrics from the songs on that album because they remind me of After by Anna Dodd. I just find them very angsty and very irritating. And I love Spaceman quite a lot too. But when I went back to listen to it after having listened to Sunday Best, which is Nick's latest album, I just realized I vibe with Sunday Best a lot more, making it my favorite Nick Jonas album. The lyrics are very meaningful and beautifully evocative. My favorite songs are Handprints, 911, Aphrodite, Gut Punch, Hope, but I also really love the rest of them. I love how the music slows down in Handprints when he says he would slow down time if he could to spend it with his loved ones and his family. And I love 911, 911, pew, damage already done, which are lyrics from 911. I See God in Your Reflection is yet another favorite lyric of mine from the song I Need You. Hope is such a vibe, and Gut Punch is giving Last Year Was Complicated vibes. I'm sorry. It's giving Last Year Was Complicated because of the track. The track sounds very similar to some of the tracks on Last Year Was Complicated, and the general vibe overall. Princesses, the last song on the album, is also very, very beautiful, and the lyrics are so incredibly tender and touching. It is truly a fantastic album, and I hope it goes on to do as well as last year was complicated, because I loved Spaceman and I listened to it a lot when it came out. I was streaming it 24/7. But I recall Nick saying in some interview that it didn't do as well as he hoped, as last year was complicated did. So I really want this one to do well and chart well and reach as many people as possible. It's really beautiful, and it put me in that cozy, romantic, dramedy headspace, making me want to curl up in bed and just read cozy romance books and do nothing else. Sunday Best by Nick Jonas. I bestow upon thee a 5-star rating. And that covers everything, all the media I consumed in the month of February in the year 2026. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have consumed any of these pieces of media and have any thoughts on them, do let me know. I would love to talk to more people about them, and I think that's the whole point of making these videos, is getting to share how much I love these pieces of media with other people and getting to talk to other people about them. So yes, I would love to hear people's thoughts, and thank you so much for watching this video. Bye bye.